Coming up on First at 4, a special election is underway in several counties to pick a new state senator. And the cleanup will take a while at Lake Cumberland following record water levels.
And it's been a cold but sunny Tuesday. The question is, what is next weather-wise? We'll have the answer now on First at 4.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, all eyes in the political world are on Eastern Kentucky tonight. If you live in the 31st District, you can cast your vote for a new state senator. WYMT's Marianne Fletcher talked to both candidates about today's election.
After months of campaigning, the date is finally here. The special election for the 31st District Senate seat kicked off this morning at 6 o'clock.
I just encourage all people to do their civic duty and go out and vote today. That's what makes our democracy work.
Even through the cold weather today, many people still made their way to the polls to make their voice heard.
Who we elect says a lot about who we are and what we expect and what we represent, so I'm just glad that there's participation.
Democrat Darrell Pugh and Republican Philip Wheeler have worked tirelessly campaigning for today's special election to fill the 31st District Senate seat.
You know, Lord willing, we'll ring the bell tonight and start putting Eastern Kentucky first.
The seat opened up after Ray Jones won his campaign for Pike County Judge Executive in November. In the end, both candidates stress the importance of voting in every election.
I was actually the first one to vote in my precinct, so I know I had an early lead in my precinct. I was number one.
The polls close at 6 p.m., so you still have a couple of more hours to get out there and vote. In Pike County, Marianne Fletcher, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, the 31st District includes Pike, Martin, Lawrence, Elliott, and Morgan counties, a big district. The election was necessary, as Marianne said, when former State Senator Ray Jones became Judge Executive in Pike County. We will have more from the candidates at 6 and results as soon as we get them after the polls close at 6 on WYMT.com.
Well, it feels good to have that sunshine back in Eastern Kentucky, and while it's still cold, that sunshine is a nice change of things here in the mountains. Of course, we take a look at some of the weather cameras. They look better when we have the blue skies like we do in Whitesburg and even along Interstate 64, with still a little bit of that dusting on those grassy surfaces as traffic continues to move okay. Do want to point out that we are continuing to watch to the north because clouds increasing ahead of a weak cold front, and yes, maybe a few light snow showers and flurries for tonight. These will be isolated in nature and could provide a little bit of snow for some locations. Once again, very isolated at 20% tonight. Temperatures in the 20s up to the north, the mid-30s down to the south. Bell County, you're at 35 degrees, 32 in Harlan County, and 31 in Breathitt County. Most of us sitting in those lower 30s at this time. Of course, tonight, 15 degrees for most. Northwest winds will make it feel colder, and a few flurries are expected. Even more snow possible, Steve, before we really warm up. We'll break down the rest of the week coming up in a few short minutes.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Those who work on Lake Cumberland may have a lot of work to do before the busy summer boating season begins. Records were broken at Kentucky's third largest lake last week, but the water is going down. WYMT's Phil Pendleton tells us more about the work and the cleanup marina owners have ahead of them.
The water levels on Lake Cumberland are still extremely high, like the parking lot here at Lee's Ford Marina underwater. The water is receding, but it's going to take a long time for the water to get back to more normal summer pool levels.
Last high was 1984, and we were about 5 feet higher than that. It went up to 758. And the dam itself, the emergency spillway, is at 760. So we literally were about 2 or 3 feet from the top of the dam.
The orange marker and debris marks how high the water got on the road that leads down to the boat ramp at Lee's Ford Marina. It's one of the few marinas that has remained open as the lake broke records. But the boat ramp remains closed, and it's nearly impossible to launch a boat in many other locations as well. The coming of spring and then the summer boating season means these folks will have their work cut out for them.
And both marinas, both crews have been working, doing a tremendous job to make sure that everything's safe, everybody's boat's safe and taken care of. That's number one.
And access to many of the areas on Lake Cumberland are still extremely limited. You cannot even get down to Waitsboro Landing. Burnside Island is blocked off. On Lake Cumberland, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is still releasing water out of the lake in hopes of drawing down the lake even more. Thousands of people in the southeast are starting a cleanup that will take weeks or months following the country's deadliest tornado outbreak in nearly 6 years. Dozens of tornadoes hit Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina on Sunday. Ground zero is Beauregard, Alabama, where at least 23 people died. Rescue workers have been searching the damage using K9 units and drones to look for many that are still missing. At one church in Opelika, Alabama, the community came together to bring supplies to the needy.
It's just really nice to see the kingdom of God work together for the good of everybody.
The National Weather Service says an EF4 tornado was one of possibly 2 tornadoes that ripped through Lee County, Alabama, with winds of 170 miles per hour. It was the deadliest twister since the 2013 disaster in Moore, Oklahoma. Officials in Bell County have waited for this day for years. On scenic reclaimed mine land in Bell County, construction for a massive wildlife center is underway. The center will alone bring hundreds of jobs. WYMT's Connor James is at the site where crews were working today.
This project has been a vision for nearly 5 years, and that vision is finally coming to fruition now that construction has officially kicked off here at the Appalachian Wildlife Center in Bell County. Officials here at the project say it will bring easily 700 jobs at this place alone. They say other jobs will come due to economic development in the area. They also say easily 800,000 people will come visit this location every year. The park will have tons of different attractions. They'll have a couple theaters inside the center once it's completed, bird watching areas, and much, much more.
It's a huge day. It's a huge accomplishment. I'm just almost speechless about the whole thing. We're really happy. But yeah, it's taken 5 years to get to this point, and it's going to be fantastic.
Now, I am told from today they're hoping this project will be finished in the next 18 to 20 months. Their goal is to open in June of 2021. I'm in Bell County. Connor James, WYMT Mountain News.
And you saw some in that video. There's also hundreds of elk on that mountain put there by the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife. We'll have much more on this exciting news coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. Well, who says cats cannot be man's best friend also? A Central Florida couple is crediting their cat Bella for saving their lives. Paul and Leona Jones say when they got home from eating dinner last Wednesday night, they just wanted to get inside out of the rain. In their haste, though, they forgot to push the off button on their car. It sat in the garage all night, emitting carbon monoxide, silently poisoning the entire house. At around 1 a.m., Bella started crying and woke them up. Weak from inhaling so much carbon monoxide, Leona was barely able to call 911. Firefighters administered oxygen to the couple and Bella and then took them all to the hospital.
If she hadn't cried and hadn't woke him up, we would not have known, and we would have just slept through it.
And never woken up.
Never woken up.
The couple has since put up reminder signs in the garage to turn off the car and installed carbon monoxide detectors. As for Bella, she's getting plenty of extra treats. Democrats are ramping up their investigations into President Donald Trump, and the White House is pushing back, calling the new investigations disgraceful and abusive. The House Judiciary Committee is requesting documents from 81 individuals and entities connected to President Trump. The president let out his frustration on Twitter this morning, saying, quote, Nadler, Schiff, and the dim heads of the committees have gone stone cold crazy. 81 letters sent to innocent people to harass them. Then he added, presidential harassment. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler had this to say.
Our goal is to hold the administration accountable for the obstruction of justice, the abuse of power, and the corruption.
House Democrats are also digging into a conversation between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Helsinki last year. A controversial federal surveillance program appears to have been shut down. A Republican congressional official says the National Security Agency recently abandoned a surveillance program that relied on bulk data collected from U.S. phone records. The official says the program needed to be reauthorized at the end of last year, but the Trump administration may not extend it. The program, first authorized in 2015, relied on information such as who was being called or texted, as well as how long the communication was. It appears all of John Schnatter's connections to the pizza chain he founded will come to an end. A court filing says Schnatter will resign from Papa John's board of directors as part of a settlement between he and the company. Schnatter will also dismiss 2 lawsuits against Papa John's. The pizza chain says Schnatter will resign from the board if an independent director is hired to Papa John's board before April 30th. That director will have no connection to either Schnatter or the investment fund that purchased a $250 million stake in Papa John's last month. Let's head over to Wall Street now on this Tuesday afternoon. The Dow closes down today more than 13 points. A well-known professional wrestler died just hours after tweeting to promote an upcoming appearance. A longtime friend and promoter confirmed King Kong Bundy died yesterday. Bundy's real name was Christopher Pallies. He made his debut in the World Wrestling Federation in 1981. Bundy is best known for facing Hulk Hogan in a steel cage match at WrestleMania 2 in 1986. He had plans to appear next month at WrestleCon in New York City. Bundy was 61. Straight ahead on First at 4, a breakthrough in HIV research. This comes after a man was cured of the virus after a stem cell implant.
And a few flurries are possible for tonight due to a weak front. We'll break down your hourly forecast.
Just another way Window World separates from the other guys.
One Window World window includes 3 warranties: the manufacturer, Good Housekeeping, and our own lifetime transferable warranty that includes glass breakage.
Call Window World today.
Introducing Kentucky Lottery's newest edition, Kentucky's Quick Bucks. A game with nightly drawings that gives you 2 ways to play and the opportunity of a guaranteed minimum win of $2. Choose your 4 numbers, as well as the Kentucky Bowl, and you could win up to $50,000. Or choose those 4 numbers and instead play the wheel bet for a guaranteed minimum win of $2, as well as a shot at that top prize of $50,000.